Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the Ultra Street Fighter 2 Final Challenges Cammy figurine, also known as Jada Toys Cammy. Now, this is the latest in the Jada Toys Street Fighter line. Jada have been pretty consistently making really good posable Street Fighter figures. They might not look the best in terms of accuracy to the characters face-wise, but it is sort of an older style, and I think it's sort of like aping the sort of Street Fighter 2 original style a little bit. But for the most part, a lot of the characters are bulkier than you'd think, or sort of less refined, shall we say. But they do make very good figures, and they are at a very affordable price point. In Australia, they're about $40 each, and that is really, really good for a posable figure of this quality. And so far, even if they aren't my favorite characters, they have all been really, really, really good figures. And this time, Cammy is one of my favorite characters, so it will be an interesting one to look at. So the box is designed like all the other Jada toys, where it's aping an arcade style, and there's just some slight unique printing for Cammy, but otherwise it is exactly the same as all the others. So taken out of the box, here's what Cammy comes with. So we've got the figure itself, we've got an alternate head, 2 alternate hands, as well as a cannon spike or spiral arrow style effect part. Every Jada toy so far has had an effect part, which is pretty cool. Whether it's stretchy arms, an actual energy effect, or a blasted fireball or something like that, it is very, very cool that Jada are consistently giving you accessories that do match the character. But taken out of the box, here's Cammy set up on a display, and she looks pretty good from first glance. The sculpt work is quite nice. This is another unique sculpt, and that's one of the other impressive things about the line so far. They're pretty much all unique sculpts except for Ryu and Ken, who are understandably copies of each other, as they really should be. But it is pretty cool that we are getting almost a new sculpt every single figure. There are similarities in the molds, don't get me wrong, but for the most part they are all unique body types. But Cammy looks pretty good from all angles. She is pretty faithful to her Street Fighter 2 design, and realistically her design for most of the franchise, and she looks quite good. All of the paintwork is solid, but I will say Cammy looks just a little bit too doll-like, at least for the base face. I think it's how she's puckering her lips. I think it's meant to imitate the box art image, but I don't think it really reads like it. It seems a little bit weird. The shouting face is a bit better, but her neutral face is not my favorite. But other than that, all of the detail is very nice. You do get 2 alternate heads, so the neutral one and the shouting one, and they are fully separate head sculpts. One of the other cool things is you can remove the hair pieces because they are 2 different sculpts and swap them around, so you can create action poses with each face depending on how you're playing around with it. But the main thing that makes the Jada toys really, really cool is the posability. So she's got a ball joint at the head, and it is very free and moves around. You can see I knocked off one of the hair pieces just then. They are pretty easy to pull off and on. It's a simple mushroom peg, and it gets the job done. Her arms can rotate all the way around that way. They can hinge up that far. There's a swivel at the up arm, double bend at the elbow. It is quite tight like all the other figures, as well as a hinge at the wrist. And you can also swivel it. There's a ball joint in the upper torso, which allows for some pretty okay movement. It's a pretty good back and forward, and some pretty good side to side when you work the waist as well. The waist is a soft plastic, so you can kick the legs doing the splits that far and forward and back that far. There is a swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee. The boot can swivel around, and there is a hinge and pivot at the ankle. Now, it's similar to all the other Jada figures we've had so far, but because of the form factor of Cammy, she is just a little bit more flexible than some of the others, so it is probably in the higher tier of posable figures from Jada so far, but still every other Jada so far has been very, very good as well and held up to a pretty good standard. Here she is next to the Jada Toys Reuse, so you can see she scales pretty well with the rest of the line as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can get her into some pretty dynamic poses. You do need to work at it a bit, and a stand is highly recommended. But it is a pretty good figure. The spiral arrow cannon spike sort of effect part slides on very, very easily. I do prefer this effect working more than Chun-Li's, which was a little bit awkward to use, but this one was very, very clear. Did not need instructions at all. And it just looks really good. The range of motion allows for some nice dynamic posing, and I wasn't really limited in any way pose-wise. I do wish she had different hands, like the open hands are pretty okay and the fists are fine, but I do think she needed something more dynamic, like a widespread open hand instead of like this flat hand. I don't think it works as well as they intended. But the only other limitation was my very, very limited imagination. I just wasn't feeling it when I was posing it, and I just couldn't really think of any real cool poses besides like basic like cannon spike and spiral arrow, but even then I didn't really do them that well. But yeah, it is a really, really good figure. I'm just very unimaginative. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.